Hansen returned his beast souls, and with the silver fox in his arms and Zero behind him, they rode the three-tailed fox down the mountain. Zhao Xueben's people were now in a state of boredom, waiting. That soon changed when they saw the three-tailed fox reappear, heading right for them again. Upon closer inspection, however, they noticed Hansen and Zero were riding it. Seeing that menacing fox to be now ridden calmly, they were shocked. I couldn't find the bull, but look, I found a fox. Thanks for telling me to return to the peak. If you hadn't, I wouldn't have gotten myself a new ride. Hansen reclined on the fox's back and smiled at them. Now that I have the three-tailed fox, I can offer you protection from the lightning. I can lead you up to the peak if you'd like. Do you fancy going? Hansen gave the people his barmiest smile. Yes, please. Zhao Xueben was still not quite ready to throw in the towel. Let's go then. Hansen rode the fox and led them up to the mountaintop. He did not make them suffer this time, and their travel was without hindrance. Only the thunderflower remained, and all traces of the bull had vanished. But seeing the thunderflower, Zhao Xueben and his people became greedy again. We came here in search of the thunderbull, but alas, we could not find it. But this flower looks special. Do you think I can take this flower as a souvenir and gift it to my supervisor? He might like it. He thought about it for a bit and then allowed Feng Lin to collect it, not daring to go himself. Feng Lin had similar thoughts to Zhao Xueben and was also afraid to approach the flower. Still, he had no choice but to obey the order he had been given. He approached the flower and then touched it. Gold lightning burst forth from the bud and electrocuted him. Zhao Xueben was shocked in a different way. He smiled at Hansen and said, Mr. Han, the three-tailed fox you have can command thunder. May we request that it collect the flower on our behalf? Manager Zhao, do you think such a thing is possible? Hansen coldly said. Zhao Xueben said, our contract was to kill the bull, but the bull is no longer here. Zhao Xueben obviously wanted to say something, but Hansen turned around to leave. The people quickly remembered that the three-tailed fox was shielding them from the lightning. If they upset Hansen, they thought he could very well allow it to electrocute them. Thinking of that, Zhao Xueben kept his mouth closed and did not say anything more. Hansen then led them down the mountain and returned to the mountaintop by himself again, so he could wait for the fruit to mature. Zhao Xueben knew Hansen was returning for the sole purpose of obtaining the flower for himself, but he also knew he was helpless to stop him. They had no choice but to pack up and go home. A day later, on the peak of Thunder Mountain, the fruit grew to the size of a fist. A lot of lightning continued striking the fruit, and there was a notable increase in the strength of its pleasant fragrance with each lightning strike. Countless booms of thunder rumbled over the fruit over the course of a day, and before long, it shone gold like a thunderbolt itself. The silver fox leapt out of Hansen's arms, but did not rush to eat the fruit. It approached it, and then walked around it as if it was contemplating something. After walking a few circles around it, the silver fox looked at Hansen and then looked back at the fruit. It opened its mouth and swallowed it in one large mouthful. Boom! The golden lightning exploded inside the silver fox's tummy and burned his entire body, making him look like burnt wood. Hansen was shocked and almost wanted to rush to its aid. But luckily, his Dongshuan aura was able to detect its life force was actually getting stronger. He remained where he was and did not approach. From inside the silver fox's charred body, a gold light burst forth. The strength of the light gradually increased, and the brighter it got, the darker its body became. Soon after, the silver fox's body was like smoldering charcoal with veins of red running along its black body. Suddenly, dark clouds reappeared, shadowing the land once more. A black bolt of thunder struck the now black fox. The silver fox's body cracked. Another black bolt came from the sky, and this happened a multitude of times. After the ninth occurrence, the clouds departed as quickly as they had come. Boom! A white lightning cloud then appeared in the sky, erupting with more bolts of thunder. They were all aimed at the silver fox's breaking body. After striking the fox 9 more times, this cloud also disappeared from wherever it came from. After that, the same thing happened again and again with 6 other clouds. Strangely, they were all of a different color. Boom! Another lightning bolt streaked across the sky. But this was like a pillar heading directly downwards as if to crush the silver fox's motionless bones. Howl! The silver fox finally made a sound, but beneath the light of that holy pillar, the flesh of its prior composition began to return. The howl it made was sad enough to break someone's heart. When the fox first shattered, it did not make a noise, but it did when being reborn. The pain must have been far more excruciating. More and more lightning flashed across its rebirthing body, and slowly, the silver fox's new appearance was revealed. It was like a silver lightning fox, and now it was bearing the crushing weight of the pillar of light. Hansen and the three-tailed fox had to move a great distance away and watch the transformation from afar. Perhaps it was because there was too much lightning, but half of Thunder Mountain collapsed, and amidst the ruin and rubble, the silver fox howled again. The silver lightning sundered the light pillar and went even further, lighting up the entire sky. The silver lightning broke the sky, literally cracking it open. Inside the cracks, Hansen saw many strange things. Hansen saw a palace and strange flora. He even saw a tree with an angel perched on one of its branches. From inside those cracks, a phantom force of pressure burst forth to push him down on the ground. His power still wasn't at a high enough level to resist that pressure. The silver fox looked at Hansen and called out to him. Hansen looked at the silver fox and their eyes locked onto each other. From what Hansen could see in the silver fox's eyes, it was conflicted. Hansen thought the silver fox was going to summon the gate to the third god's sanctuary like the holy rhino or empty witch had. But it didn't take long for that assumption to change. The silver fox hadn't summoned the spirit. Instead, it had forced open a crack between both sanctuaries to force his way beyond. Little Silver, go, I'll find you, we'll be together again real soon. Hansen did his best to stand up, but could not. He gathered all the power he could to generate sonic thunder powers. But even with that power, however, he could not make a squeak. The silver fox had evolved, and if it remained in the second god's sanctuary, its body would be tainted and end up in a far worse state than it currently was. It would have to leave this place before the cracks closed. Although Hansen wanted to go with it, it was impossible for him to even budge. The silver fox yelped in the direction of its master once more, and as it inched itself towards the cracks, it made sure to keep looking back at Hansen. I will look for you soon, Little Silver. Wait for me. Hansen witnessed the cracks beginning to seal, and so he spoke aloud one last time to the silver fox that looked back at him. The silver fox nodded, and then it turned back to face the portal. Its body morphed into silver lightning and was drawn inside. Boom. The crack closed shut, and the pressure that had forced Hansen to the ground vanished. Still, he did not immediately get back on his feet. His heart had been dealt a blow he had almost never had to deal with. Ever since he watched the birth of Little Silver, he had spent most of his time alongside it. It was a genuine companion, and now that it was gone, it hurt. Hansen vowed to do whatever it took to find the silver fox again. But the third god's sanctuary was a massive, sprawling place. It was largely unexplored, and human development was slow there. Unless he was tremendously lucky, Hansen feared it might take years for the two to reunite. Fuck. I know I shouldn't worry. I'll find him no matter where he ends up. I'll cut down anyone or anything that tries to stop me from reuniting with him. Hansen was going to consider this an oath, a vow he would swear to uphold. Looking up to the sky, he shouted, Little Silver, hold on. I'm going to look after you, no matter what it takes. After cheering himself up, he returned to the nearest human shelter and went back to the Alliance. In accordance with the contract, he returned half of the Angel Gene fluid to Angel Gene. He wouldn't play nice with those people, ever. But before he hit the road again, he spoke to his mother and informed her of his plan. Hansen was going to give her most of his beast souls and the super creatures he had claimed. It would have been even better if she could go to Moment Shelter, for if she did, he could move on to the third god's sanctuary without worry. If you visit the third god's sanctuary, do not let the spirits know that you have an association with the Luo family, Luolan said calmly after hearing his plans. Your great-grandfather was renowned for his cruelty in the third god's sanctuary. Every spirit there will hate him with a passion. If you don't want a perpetual bounty on your head, keep your familial tie to him a secret. But since you didn't learn the falsified Sky Sutra, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Luolan smiled. When Hansen heard this, his heart jumped. He knew he'd have no problem keeping it a secret, but he was aware that the Zhao family hated him. He feared they would send word to the spirits of the third god's sanctuary about who Hansen's ancestor was. After walking for an entire month, Hansen came across a second-generation wolf king out on a moor. To get it, Hansen had to slay its entire wolf pack. He didn't get a beast soul, but he was able to finally max out his super geno points. They spent 4 months traveling back to Moment Shelter, where he let Luolan to handle the affairs of the shelter. Throughout his time on the road, Hansen also spent time practicing his Blood Pulse Sutra. His body received a great many changes, and he was close to breaking its first gene lock. Hansen planned on finishing the first tier and then becoming a surpasser. He also wanted to level up the fairy too. She wouldn't listen to anyone but Hansen, so he thought she'd only bring mischief if she was to remain in Moment Shelter without him. Hansen was going to try and get her to the third god's sanctuary, to avoid her being a nuisance in his absence. As for the three-tailed fox, Big Black, Small Black, and Little White, they were all well-behaved. Even if Hansen wasn't around, they would follow Luolan's commands. That, alongside the super beast souls he was going to give her, would guarantee that Luolan would have no problem keeping the shelter secure. Aside from Little Angel and his Devil Ant King armor, Meowth and Golden Growler, Hansen gifted all of his beast souls to Luolan. Hansen worried people might recognize the Devil Ant King armor that Dollar had used, and that's why he decided to bring it with him. After everything he had experienced so far, he knew his beast souls wouldn't be of much use in the third god's sanctuary. Hansen spent his time practicing with his Blood Pulse Sutra and taking the Crystal Palace out for deep-sea dives. Down there, he searched for water element super creatures to aid the fairy's development. Hansen had a creature in mind too, the blue seahorse. Unfortunately for him, however, it took him a long time to find it. It turned out that the blue seahorse's element was fire. A year passed, and the fairy had still not evolved. But in that time, he had managed to open the first gene lock of the Blood Pulse Sutra. Surprisingly, and disappointingly, the Blood Pulse Sutra was a bit of a letdown. It turned out to be weaker than he expected it to be. Half a month after this, Hansen killed a water element monster. After the fairy ate its body and the life geno essence, she started to evolve. When fairy evolved, she made a whirlpool in the water and turned into ice, freezing the Crystal Palace at the same time. The sanctuary door opened in the air, and a spirit walked out to approach fairy. Unlike the silver fox, who was hesitant to leave, the fairy spared no time in accompanying the spirit. Gleefully, she raced straight towards it. He felt as if his kindness had all been in vain. As this occurred, Hansen was in the Crystal Palace. The spirit that came to the door did not see Hansen when it took the fairy back across the gate, but before the fairy went beyond the gate, she made a mocking face towards the Crystal Palace. "Fine, whatever. Go ahead, this place is better off without you." Hansen sighed. Although he said that, he actually missed her. Now, the gourd was the next thing Hansen could not let go of. Hansen had tried everything, including feeding it a copious amount of super creature blood, but it no longer absorbed any. Hansen had no clue how to get it open. On this day, Hansen felt a vibration stemming from his Sea of Soul. The Aqua Reaper beast soul died and then disappeared. It looks like he escaped. Hansen wore a complicated expression, but he was not surprised. Ning Yue was no ordinary person. He had been possessed by the Aqua Reaper, but still, he had never passed on any useful information. It was only a matter of time until he managed to escape it. That being said, Hansen had thought he would have escaped sooner. There had not been much important news in the Alliance recently. The Zhao family was still a favored name, but their production of high-class angel gene fluid was slowly winding down. Donglin's pet pills, on the other hand, had started to receive more good feedback. The people of the Ji family, who did not invest in the pills when it was first suggested to them by Ji Ruozhen, were regretting their mistake deeply. After retiring, Hansen went to Roka Planet and stayed at home for some time. He spent a few days with his mother and little sister, and then spent time with Zhang Danfang. He did whatever he wanted to, in addition to researching what he could about the Third God Sanctuary. Going there would be difficult, and even Hansen's mother was not confident she herself could survive there. That was why she never chose to become a surpasser. Although Hansen's chances of survival were better than most, all it would take was an unlucky roll of the dice to twist his fate. If he ended up in a high-level spirit shelter where the spirit despised him, he'd be killed without trouble. There'd be nothing he could do to escape such a fate. Hansen enjoyed the days of relaxation as best as he could. He frequently spent time practicing with Little Yan, too. She had developed into a pretty young girl now, and in 3 years, she'd enter the First God's Sanctuary. With Hansen's reputation, it did not matter where she ended up. She'd be taken good care of. Hansen stayed at his home for a month, and when he went back to the sanctuary, he went to visit the evolution pool. He stood next to it and removed his clothes. With the gourd in hand, he jumped in. He did not know if the pool could work for the gourd, but there was no harm in trying. Hansen really wanted to bring the gourd with him because if he didn't, he'd lose all the astounding weapons that were inside it. Heaven knew who would end up owning them one day. The evolution pool was like an endless aquatic abyss. It was like a black hole. Hansen's body continued to fall, as if he was being dropped into a bottomless vacuum. The composition of his body began to melt away as his flesh decomposed. Hansen did not feel any pain, and he could not see or hear anything. It felt as if his body was being reborn. It felt as if he was in purgatory, soon to be graced with a new life. Evolution successful. You have achieved the rank of Surpasser. You have gained an additional 100-year lifespan. Your super body has evolved. Super King Spirit. Hansen, Super Body, Super King Spirit title, Surpasser lifespan, 400 next evolution requirement, 100 Geno points. Hansen was pushed to the surface of the water as he heard the announcement, informing him of his success in evolving. Before Hansen could admire his new Surpasser body, however, he felt his left hand becoming overwhelmed by a pulsing power. The gourd in his left hand was vibrating like mad. At its tip, a black hole-like distortion had manifested, warping the very dimension around it. Is something going to be born from the gourd now? Did the evolution pool really help it? Hansen was excited looking at the gourd. While he was thinking, a black light burst forth from the gourd to sunder the atmosphere like a blade. A lesion was torn in the fabric of space, and a powerful force of suction came from it. Before he could react, Hansen and the gourd were both sucked inside. Boom. Hansen felt as if the world was spinning, or as if he had been tossed into a tumble dryer. He felt a crushing force descend upon him, and amidst his rolling, he felt as if he wanted to throw up but could not. He wanted to scream, but no voice came out. He felt his body being forced into the painful, compact shape of a ball. Time did not seem to exist in the place he had ended up, and the pain he suffered felt as if it had lasted an entire century, despite truly lasting only a few seconds. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and enable notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.